Welcome to it, sports fans. It is, of course, episode 4 from the Bleachers with me, MKT. Thank you so much for joining me. And let's get straight into the intro. And then we're going to get into the fun. Today we're going to be talking about the Gunners. Of course, they've undergone somewhat of a change, having lost manager Arsene Wenger. Of course, he was there for over a decade. And we're going to talk about whether the Arsenal Emery revolution, as the fans have called it, is really a revolution, or is it more of the same all over again? Then, of course, today, and recently, but today, a story surfaced about Richard Scudamore receiving a payoff from all the Premier League clubs. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, his role in not only the formation and elevating the Premier League to another level. But is it too much? Does he need the size of the golden handshake they're offering him? Is Richard Scudamore and his cronies now taking it too far? In the current economic climate, for many of us, it might be too much. So we'll get into that. Has he earned it, Richard Scudamore? A super hot topic to debate. And then lastly, a favorite of mine, as we go through the episodes and as you get to know exactly what I'm about on the sports front, it's something I'll talk about a lot. I only watch Test cricket. So I don't watch any T20 cricket. And something interesting will be happening in 2019. It is the ICC Test Championship, of course. At the very beginning, they're experimenting with that. And I say to that, what has happened to the 5-match Test series? So we're going to get into all of that. Do we need 5 Test matches in a series? Is T20 the thing to do? Is Richard Scudamore getting slightly greedy? We're going to talk about Scudamore. But first and foremost, Arsenal's possible revolution, or is it just a change? So again, please remember to subscribe if you like the channel, love the channel, leave all of your comments below, and let us know as we continue to create content what topics you would like to hear and possibly what else you would like to discuss around the sporting world. And beyond that, of course, there is a lot attached to sport. We all love it because it makes us crazy, but nothing can make us happier. That's it for the intro. Let's get into it. I think we're going to have a super fun episode today. A club I really have a love-hate relationship with. They gave us Thierry Henry. But then, of course, I am a Chelsea fan. I'm unapologetic about that. But I'm indeed neutral. So, in life, it happens to all of us. We're like 18, and then you turn 21, and your friends change because you leave high school, you go to university, and then you have every single year feels like you have the biggest revelation of your life, and I just want to be more spiritual, and you go and work at a ski resort, and then you're like 23, and some people go to India and do a yoga instructor course, and they're just like, oh, I've had an absolute evolution as a personality. Like, I'm a completely different person from what I was when I was 21 and I'm 25. I went to India for 6 months and I've changed. I'm a completely different person. I tell you, I've evolved. I've had a spiritual evolution. In society, we use this word a lot. Evolution. I'm not sure we understand what it means. Evolution, by its very definition, is incremental. And the change happens so slowly. But in order to see the change must be so extreme. In order to truly evolve, the product you see now must not resemble the product we saw at its very roots. That is evolution. Let me explain it to you this way. If you see a frog, right? A frog starts out as a tadpole, and it just grows a little bit bigger, tail grows shorter, becomes bigger, tail even shorter, and eventually there's no tail, there's just a frog. But the tail doesn't drop off the frog. The frog essentially grows into the tail and becomes the fully fledged, fully grown frog. Right? That's change. That is change. When we say evolution, we're talking about something like this. When you see a caterpillar, right, and the caterpillar will go into a cocoon in its life cycle, and then it'll come out as a butterfly, right? Anybody who's seen a caterpillar and you've seen a fully fledged butterfly, I think you understand that that is evolution. Because the caterpillar does not resemble anything that you see on the end product as the fully grown adult that we call a butterfly. That is evolution. It looks completely different. That is evolution. So for me, football has 3 dimensions. How I judge every single football club, because I love football and I love sport, and it's actually in every major sport. But we're just talking about football now, and in particular Arsenal Football Club. But football has 3 dimensions. So the fans, of course, the fans are a given. The fans are forever. Fans are forever. So I don't even discuss fans as being a part of the club. Everything I talk about is and the fans, just with that asterisk. Right? The fans are forever. They are the only true people that are faithful to a club. No player, no executive, nothing. Fans. So fans are in every level of the club, no matter whether the club likes it or not. Every football club is measured in 3 dimensions for me. The owner and the executives, which I see as 1. The manager and his team, which manages the playing staff. And ultimately, most importantly, and this is something that's become forgotten, I believe, the players. So I'm going to tell you again how I view football clubs. Owner and executives, which I see as 1. The manager, so he's the coach, he's the guy who has all the staff, physios. He looks after all of that. He does none of the executive stuff. Not in the modern world. I think Arsene Wenger is the last that we'll see who does it like that, where he has absolute control of the football club. Owners and executives, the manager, and most importantly, the players. Now, I've said to you before, companies are always talking to you. Are you willing to listen? They are always talking to you. And the beauty of elite sport, elite business, the real sharp end, is that companies set their own standard. So they might not tell you that, but they do. And how they do that is they tell you by the quality of the personnel compared to the other institutions that operate at that level. What quality does your company have? Owners and executives, managers, and most importantly, the players. I've been told by every single Arsenal fan, oh, it's an evolution. The club feels like it is a new club. We've never been like this before. Well, have you? Have you evolved? Or have you just changed? Let's go through these 3 dimensions at Arsenal, and then we'll surmise whether Arsenal has just changed or whether Arsenal has evolved. And why I think this is important is that I think this is what Arsenal are going to be for the next 10 years. The owner, Stan Kroenke, is now the sole owner of Arsenal Football Club. He's, of course, bought Usmanov out for £600 million, and he has, in essence, taken over Arsenal Football Club. For the very first time, it is sole owned. Now, people say that has its benefits, but the Arsenal fans say no. That is not the model we want. We don't want to go the Chelsea route. We don't want to go the Man City route, because this club belongs to the fans. The fans are absolutely furious, because the best way to predict the future is to predict the past. Stan Kroenke has been around since 2008. Not a cent of his money has gone into the football club. If you look into how Stan Kroenke has acquired clubs around the world, is that he takes out debt, and then he pays it off over 10, 20 years. Now, what that means is that he very rarely invests in the football club or in any of his clubs. The LA Rams, previously in St. Louis, they've just moved back to LA now. Ask around. Stan Kroenke, not very popular. Hasn't invested a cent. They don't even have their own stadium. It's been a nightmare. They're negotiating it. They've got the biggest loan, 2.5 times the size of the legal loan before in the NFL. So Kroenke, he owns the Denver Nuggets as well. He bought them. Massive, massive debt. And he's paid it off over 15 plus years. That is the model. That's what Arsenal are in for over the next few years. And that's just the ownership. The fans are furious, quite understandably. Let's stay within the executive realm of the club. Even Gazidis, who was one of the most respected executives in European football, has just quit. Somebody like him wouldn't just employ a manager and then resign. I think he sees the writing on the wall, and I'm sure he's been presented with the numbers, because somebody like him would not just leave after employing the man who will lead what is lauded as the next evolution at Arsenal Football Club. Even Gazidis has doubled his money. He was on a reported £3 million at Arsenal. He's now at AC Milan, a team far below Arsenal as it stands. AC Milan are no longer the Shevchenko, Ancelotti, Nesta, Cafu, AC Milan. They are now a third-rate club. Arsenal are a second-rate club. AC Milan are now a third-rate club. Even in Italy, and more importantly in world football. But Gazidis has seen the writing on the wall. He has seen that this football club, it looks like, will be stable and regress, because no money will come from upstairs. And we've already seen what Stan Kroenke is all about. New manager, evolution, there's change in the air. Surely we're going to invest in new players. We came 6th last season. It is time for Arsenal to come back to the top 4. The stadiums have been paid off. Surely, new manager, new wave of expectation, big money on the table. Jose Mourinho arrives, 180 million spent in the first window at Chelsea in his first time. 112 million spent the next season by Roman Abramovich. That's what you do for a new manager when you back him. You set the tone early, because when you set the tone early, you say, this is the bar of expectation. Even if Emre is not the man, in the future you say, the resources will be there, but you'd better deliver. But Kroenke spent £71 million. That's what Liverpool spent on their goalkeeper. Stan Kroenke spent £71 million on the entire squad. That came 6th, with the stadium being paid off. Arsenal have been net profiting for the last 18 years in a row. That's unheard of in football. The constraints of the stadium are no longer an excuse. They're a part of the most lucrative deal in world sport. And that is only growing with Facebook, Amazon, and the expansion into Asia, South America, and Africa. Those rights don't come cheap, and that is only skyrocketing. That's the executive level. Chips Keswick has turned the AGM into an absolute comedy show every single year. There is instability at the top, and that would worry me if I was an Arsenal fan. More of the same. Evolution, you say, I say more of the same at the top. What have they done at manager? So I've heard mixed reviews. Unai Emre, of course, 3 times in a row, won the UEFA Europa League 3 times in a row with a fantastic Sevilla side. Jose Antonio Reyes and Carlos Bacca leading that front 3. Unbelievable performance. But that's Europe's second tier tournament. Then he went to PSG, won the league, won the cup double. But with PSG in France, with who they have, that wasn't good enough. Because it's all about the Champions League. And PSG said, no, he's not for us. And PSG are trying to win. They're not trying to win tomorrow. They're trying to win now. They broke the world record twice in like 6 months. Mbappe, Neymar. PSG said, Unai Emre is not for us because we're trying to get to the very top. He's 5th after 12 games, sacked by PSG because he's not the next level. The players I would rank like this. Arsenal's back four, no matter who you put in, very average. A goalkeeper who's still struggling to fit in, Bernd Leno. Peter Cech hasn't adjusted to the new type of football that Unai Emery wants to play. So they have a problem at goalkeeper over the next 2 years. It'll take Leno some time. Goalkeepers in the Premier League that come from Europe need to fill out. The English Premier League is like nothing on earth for goalkeepers. You want to know if a goalkeeper's good? Can he crack it in the English League? There are special ones who will be good anyway. Neuer, Casillas. Those are Pantheon greats. But there are very few of those. Bernd Leno is not that. And Petr Cech is unfortunately no longer what he was. His feet are not up to it. And Arsenal have a problem at goalkeeper. In the midfield, Granit Xhaka, for me, a top 8 midfielder. And by that I mean he should be playing for a club in 8th place. If Arsenal are looking to go top 4, top 3, top 2, Granit Xhaka cannot be the solid rock that you build your house on. The midfield is average. The strikers, they have 2 in Aubameyang. Listen, people get excited about Aubameyang, but I've seen enough to realize why the Bundesliga Enigma club, that is the yellow wall, Dortmund, let him go. He's up and down and cars and Instagram. Dude, I don't want to see you on Instagram. I need more goals. For 57 million, I needed 30 goals in the league this season. And trust me, Arsenal are not short on creating chances, and he is nowhere near what he was. So much so that he has to play on the left. If he was the guy, I'm not going to call Aubameyang world class. I'm not willing to do that. Because there is not a single club in world football who's letting go of a world class striker. Arguably, it tells you everything you need to know about Aubameyang that he traded down. Because I think Dortmund are better than Arsenal. So it lets you know you're not dealing with the highest character guy. So I would call their players average. I would call their strikers good. I'd call their midfield average. At best. And I'm being kind. I'm being very kind. You know, after a bad breakup in life, if anybody's just nice to you after that, like if you've ever been in a bad breakup, the next person who's just like kind of nice, it just feels amazing that somebody thinks you're worth spending time around. Like, have you ever been in that? Bad breakup, and you meet somebody, maybe they've been in a bad breakup as well, and you guys can wallow together. That might hit home for too many people. But after a bad breakup, it doesn't matter who it is. If they give you attention, it'll feel amazing. That's Arsenal Football Club right now. It was messy with Wenger. It was a messy breakup. All the fans wanted was out. All the fans wanted was out. It got messy at the end, and once you've been with somebody for 20 years and you have to break up with them, it's always going to get ugly. And then Arsenal had to jump into a relationship with somebody who maybe they're not in love with him. I don't think Emery was the first choice. But he's all they could get. So you go from a bad relationship into the next one where you start the relationship by compromising. Have they evolved or changed? Change is the frog. Starts out the tadpole, and the frog really grows into the tail more than anything else. It doesn't change. That's all change is. If you evolve as a football club, Chelsea Football Club in 2004 evolved like the butterfly, which starts out as the caterpillar and ends up as a butterfly. Nobody on this planet can identify the 2002 team that Chelsea had from the 2005 team that Chelsea had. Roman Abramovich turned Chelsea into a juggernaut overnight. Have Arsenal evolved or changed? That's the question that all fans need to ask themselves. In my opinion, it's another day at Arsenal, more of the same, and Stan Kroenke is going to be a nightmare for this great football club. The writing is on the wall. I have seen it already. And Arsenal fans, I am sorry to tell you, I don't know what to tell you, but you are now a mid-table, and if you break into the top 6 club, you should be delighted. The boardroom is average to horrible. The manager was not your first choice, and there's no real winning pedigree there. He doesn't get the economic support from upstairs, and his playing staff that he isn't being allowed to replace, if I'm being kind, are average. Arsenal's players are playing above their level, and it's not even Christmas yet. If you are 5th after 12 games and that's the best you've got, trust me, Christmas, you can maybe add 2 places to that. I expect Arsenal to finish 6th or 7th this season, and it's not going to be pretty. Not Unai Emery's fault, but there's no symbiosis. It's chaos at the top. It is chaos at the top. Kroenke has turned the fans against their own football club. Wenger leaving was a deep cut for the football club, and it got ugly, and Unai Emery, who wasn't Arsenal's first choice, is caught in the middle. I expect a decade of suffering for Arsenal, and I'm sorry, Arsenal fans, but the writing is on the wall. Kroenke doesn't spend money. Unai Emery hasn't made the club any better than Arsene Wenger did, and he's not going to be allowed to improve his players. More of the same. Arsenal delighted with top 4, and the show must go on. Let's change it up. I want to talk about a man who changed world football. Not just English football. Whether you think it's good or bad, that's on you. I'll let you decide. But keep this date in mind. 20 February 1992. 20 February 1992. Keep that date in mind, because that is the day world football changed seismically. It was never the same from that day onwards again. You know, my mom used to say something to me all the time, and I didn't get it until I was older. And she continues to say it to me today. Just because something is good, it doesn't mean that it's good for you. Just because something is good, it doesn't mean that it's good for you. And for me, it's like chocolate cake is good, right? But too much of it makes me sick. And I love chocolate cake. I love chocolate muffins. I love it. Just because something is good, it doesn't mean it's good for you. And I think sometimes in life, we all do it. We all forget this. And it's quite simple when you hear it. But man, to behave in and around those words, I love chocolate cake. But too much of it makes us sick. The English Premier League was formed on 20 February 1992. Football was never the same. What changed? Well, the most powerful football association in world football on that day went from the most powerful to having absolutely no power over not just the elite clubs, but which players could come in and out, and which players forevermore would be available for the FA's biggest brand, which is the Three Lions, which is the national team. So what this meant was they can no longer control how many English players can play at the very top clubs, which will ensure their development for the national team. For those who don't know, the English Premier League and the English FA are two separate brands. A man called Greg Dyke negotiated the deal with the top 6 clubs in England, and ironically, he actually lost the bidding at the time to Sky Sports. But anyway, I don't want to get into Greg Dyke too much. 20 February 1992. Overnight, the English FA went from the most powerful football association in the world to absolutely powerless. Oh, how the mighty fell. 20 February 1992. On that day, Rupert Murdoch and Sky Sports paid £304 million for 5 years of television rights. And he was called all sorts of names that I wouldn't be able to say and then face my mother. He's crazy this, he's crazy that, he's lost it. It's a gimmick. Sky are going to go bust. Rupert Murdoch was called every 4-letter name under the sun. In November 1999, the English Premier League made the most important and terrain-altering employment in the history of football. On that day, Richard Scudamore was employed as the chief executive of the English Premier League, and he forevermore changed the direction of money and power in world football like we have never seen it before. Let me give you an example of what Scudamore did. In 2001, he negotiated for a 4-year deal, £1.2 billion for just the British rights that Sky had to pay. Just the rights to show it in Britain. 304 million was the mark for 5 years, just about 10 years earlier. Now Scudamore had more than quadrupled that amount, 1.2 billion, and this was just for the British rights. The 304 million in 1992 was for worldwide. In 2001, Richard Scudamore negotiated a £1.2 billion deal for just the British rights. In 2013, the very same Richard Scudamore negotiated for 4 seasons just for the British rights, £5.2 billion for the British rights to distribute the English Premier League. I'll let that sink in. £5.2 billion for 4 seasons of distribution of the greatest show on earth. Richard Scudamore changed world football forevermore. 20 February 1992. Many English fans, if you speak to them, feel the Premier League is the reason why England have been so poor. Because the money, once again, just because something is good, it doesn't mean it is good for you. So profits went up, but the quality of the English team plummeted. The last generation that they called the golden generation, if we're honest with ourselves, were so average. I'm willing to argue I don't think any one of their players was world class. I love Frank Lampard, but I'm not putting him anywhere near any of the Italian guys. Pirlo, Xavi, none of those guys. Is he Baggio? He's none of those. Lampard couldn't hold a candle to any of those, and I think Lampard is probably the best of the generation. You might argue Steven Gerrard. I'll let you have it. Either one, never world class for me, and they called them the golden generation. That is how low England have dropped. And people say it's the money because now at the top, no English players can get into Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal. Because hungrier, more technically gifted players from South America, Brazil, more driven players come from those leagues. And remember, when you come with the mentality of some of those guys, You're playing for your family. You're coming from a place of strife and poverty. Poverty in Britain, on the dole, and poverty in South America, Africa, is two very, very different things. Just because something is good, it doesn't mean that it's good for you. The Premier League is blamed by many fans for the decline of the English team, and this is what the FA feared on 20 February 1992. So it was announced earlier this season that Scudamore will retire at the end of the 2018-2019 season. And today it surfaced that Chelsea's CEO, Mr. Bruce Buck, will ask every single football club to donate £250,000 to give Scudamore a golden handshake of £5 million as he exits stage left. Scudamore never won for the hoopla and the front pages. He had a heart attack last year, for those who don't know, and Scudamore was apparently back at work on Monday. Something like he had the heart attack on the Thursday, he had an operation for it, and he was back at work on the Monday. The Premier League clubs will apparently raise £5 million between them. Bruce Buck is campaigning. Is it greed, or does he deserve it? You know, the French Revolution, it's horribly mistranslated, but there is a very, very famous notion of let them eat cake, where the bourgeois didn't listen to the proletariat. And we know how that ended. Might be a gross example, but their heads may come off if they keep ignoring the fans, because the prices keep going up. The executives' bonuses keep going up. But the fans keep having to pay more and more and more. The let them eat cake attitude is dangerous. Richard Scudamore, remember, rich guys hang out with rich guys. Like, that's what life is. All right? And you know who rich guys want to protect? Is other rich guys. Because you know why? Because other rich guys make them more rich. I'm not saying you have to like it. I'm just telling you how this thing works. Richard Scudamore, who's made over £70 million in earnings, it is rumoured will get a £5 million golden handshake. And fans carry on having to pay £1,000 every season for tickets. Is it greed? Is it what it is? Has he earned it? The man has earned somewhere north of £15 billion for the English Premier League over the last 15 years. Some might say 5 million is a snip. Some might say, where will the greed stop? But if the FA and the Premier League don't sit around a table and they keep ignoring the fans, and then the attitude is a man can just be given £5 million as a goodbye present after having made 70 million excluding bonuses over the last few years in pounds, British sterling, that has to be worrying. Just because something is good, it does not mean it is good for you. I love the Premier League, but my goodness, this attitude says the owners are deluded. They have lost touch with reality. But hey, rich guys hang out with rich guys because rich guys make them richer. And it is just good business. But I say it is a warning to the Premier League. The response to this has been visceral. Fans are white hot at the suggestion that Richard Scudamore, who has done an incredible job and given the world, not just England, the greatest show on turf. But 5 million, really, after having made 70 without the bonuses which haven't been revealed? What does that say about the fans, the common man on the street? Football belongs to the working class human being. Where will the greed end? Nobody knows. But Scudamore will tell you, I made 15 billion for them. What is 5 million to me? My warning to the Premier League, all revolutions start from the bottom. And when people are unhappy, you need to listen to them. Because they're not stupid. They will one day revolt. And revolt in this sense, I don't think is violent. They will just stop coming. It's all good and well now. But I'll say it once again for the Premier League. It is my warning. I'd love to hear what people think. But just because something is good, which is profit, it doesn't mean it's good for you. Because the English team is a mess. It is a shambles. Their kids now have to go and play in Germany to get time. England coaches don't get a chance. Because it's win, and it's win now. The Premier League, the stakes are high. Entertainment value through the roof. The English national team in the dungeons. Richard Scudamore, thank you very much. Premier League, I hope you can sit around a table and start to think about the fans in the future. Great job, Scudamore. All the best in your next endeavours. To the Premier League, I say be careful. Let's move on to this. Do you know what I love? Like, seriously, I don't like it, and I don't use the word love often. You know what I love? Is Test cricket, right? So I don't watch T20 cricket. Like, I'm old. I'm 32 now. I'm an old dude. Yeah, I'm old. I go on the Facebook. The Facebook. I'm old. I'm what South Africans call a bully. I'm aged. I'm rigid now. I don't change. I don't like change. I like what I like. Give me what I want. Yeah, I just want a ham sandwich. Give me a ham sandwich with butter. And maybe one slice of tomato. I don't want any more than that. Don't get exotic. I don't want a BLT. I'm old. I know what I like already. Right? So I only watch Test cricket. I don't watch T20 and 50 over. I don't know. It's got like so many names now. Is it ODI, One Day International? I don't know what's going on. Like, I'll watch the World Cup final. But that's about it. Because I'm jaded. I can't do it anymore. How many one-day tournaments and T20 tournaments do we need? Skill levels are zero as well. You know, the ICC is behaving like a child. I don't have any children, but I've got nieces and nephews. And I've been around them when they got new toys. What they tend to do is, even if the old toy is their favorite, and it works, and it makes them unbelievably happy, as soon as you give a toddler a new toy, they throw the old one to the corner. Throw it away. All right? But that first one made them unbelievably happy. Like, there was an intrinsic joy that they can't explain. But new is better now. And toddlers are like that. New is better with toddlers. I just want new. Then the next day I'm crying for my old toy. But new. Give me new. Is it better? It doesn't matter. Just give it new. 2018, I want new. What's the latest? Update yourself. Get a new phone. Get a new laptop. Update your software. Get a new girlfriend. Get a new one. Yeah, your old one hasn't been to India to do a yoga course. Get a new one. Do new. Just change. Like, is the change better? No, don't worry about that. Just change. Here's the thing about selling your soul, right? Is once you've sold your soul, you can only sell your soul once in life, but you can never clean that slate. No matter what dimension of life, is once you've sold your soul, I'm not saying people sell their souls all the time, maybe. Some might say. But I say this. You know deep down inside when you've sold your soul. And selling your soul, you can only do it once. And once you've done that, remember, you can never wipe that slate clean. And the ICC sold its soul to India, England, and Australia in the worst negotiated deal in the history of negotiations in Negotiationsville. They sold Test cricket and all the profits to India, Australia, and England. People say their hands were tied. I've looked at the deal. I've spoken to people at the ICC on the inside. Trust me, there was plenty of room for negotiation. Dave Richardson and co were weak. Where's the 5-match series? Where is the 5-match series? Cricket is the best in its test form. Cricket is the best in its test form. I'll tell you why. Because if you can't bowl, I'll see it on the 4th day of a test match. I don't care how good you are with a new ball when you're fresh on the first day after 3 overs. I don't care. That's not when the top bowlers come through. I don't care how good you are on these flat pitches that they prepared today. On the first day, 30 overs in, flat track, tied bowlers, it's boiling hot. That's not skill. It's in the name. Test cricket. Test cricket. How are you 5 days later? 4 days later? It's hot. You're in India. The crowd's going nuts. It's in Mumbai. It's like 100,000. It's 40 degrees. You 1-0 down, 3rd test match, day 4. You're chasing 95 on the last day to win. It is turning sideways. What happened to that? Well, what happened to 5-match series? And it's the most logical format. Odd numbers, so it increases the chance of a winner and loser. And that's why we watch sport. T20 tournaments are for casual fans. Casual fans don't last. You know, I compare T20 cricket to cheating on your wife, staying with the woman you cheated on your wife with, and then being surprised when she cheats on you. Right? That's what it is. Because T20 cricket satisfies the now. Your other wife looked after the house, had a great family, was a great family woman, made sure the home was ready even though she had a job, was working a 12, 15-hour job as an accountant. She'd come home, make sure food is on the table, the kids are dressed, everything. But no, you wanted the more exciting secretary at work. She's 23, and you stayed with her, and oh, surprise, surprise, she found a guy who's richer than you and has 3 Ferraris and not 1. That's what T20 cricket is. It's like cheating on your wife and then being surprised that the new girl who cheated on with you has now cheated with somebody else. That's what T20 cricket is. Satisfying the now. Now. Change now. Be better. Upgrade your laptop. Where's your software? Get the new one. Is it better? I don't know. It doesn't matter. Do now. ICC sold its soul and they can never get it back. The day they handed the keys of Test cricket and who can play 5 Test match series to India, England, and Australia, everything fell. It is not an entertainment factor because every Test match I've seen is chock-a-block. Fans like myself, above 30, can afford to go to cricket. Always. Could the ICC have negotiated better with cricket grounds? I know that's a massive expense, because Test matches are ending earlier. But one might say that's because T20 cricket is played all the time. There are no warm-up tours anymore. There are no specialist Test match cricketers anymore. Everybody must just slog. And it doesn't matter if you average 30, you can open the Test batting, because Test matches are now over on day 3. T20 is for fly-by-night fans, and I'm sorry, it has cost us everything. For those of you out there like me who love Test cricket, what happened to the 5-match Test series? I'll tell you what happened. The ICC sold its soul. Only England, Australia, and India will play 5 Test matches against each other. They'll justify it with all sorts of mumbo-jumbo. It's the economics. It's not the economics. You're greedy. You want more T20. You're cutting test match tours short so you can make more T20 money. For fly-by-night, casual fans, fans like me that'll be here till my death, won't be here forever. I don't watch T20 cricket. I don't watch one-day cricket. ICC sorted out. Money should solve problems, not compound them. Why are we having less test cricket? That doesn't make any sense to me in any way. The Ashes this year, or Ashes last year, was the most commercially successful Ashes they've ever had. You can't tell me test cricket's on the decline. You just can't. But the ICC is getting greedy. Dave Richardson did a shocker of a job, which is terrible because he is actually a lawyer by qualification. So you'd like him in the room when negotiating. The ICC Test Championship is meant to appease because I think they can see that Test cricket is when the game is strongest. Everything should supplement Test cricket and not push it aside. So you know what the ICC have done? They've come up with the ICC Test Championship. It is a shambles. If you haven't seen it, Google it. Nobody plays everybody. Some teams play less. India have more games, so they can earn more points. There's a final. It's like straight to first and second. There's no real table format. This is what happens when you sell your soul. You have to panic. And now they are reeling at the ICC. Because fans like me that are older and can afford to go to games, T20 cricket was fun for like 5 minutes. But then it's like these guys can't bat. They can't bat. And I'm sorry, the casual fan doesn't care about that because they can just go have a beer, have a good time. There's flames whenever there's a six. There's a DJ. He's not really a DJ. He's a guy playing music on a laptop. But every time the ball goes into the stands, we're going nuts. Those fans won't be there in 10 years because they'll be at boxing, they'll be at music festivals. They're there for a good time, not for the cricket. People like me who are there for the cricket, what about us? It's sad for those who love cricket. And my question, and I've asked it for 3 years, how does Dave Richardson still have his job? The ICC sold their soul. And like I've said before, once you've sold your soul, there is no way back. There is no way to clean the slate. What happened to the 5-match test series? That is from Bleachers for this week with me, MKT. If you love the content, subscribe below, share. Let people know that we are creating more and more content. Look out for more content creation from us. But please share and let us know. Let me know what subjects you'd like to hear about, what you'd like me to discuss. But I will be back tomorrow with more of the latest headlines and the hottest topics from around world sports. For today, though, it has been from the Bleachers podcast. It has been such a pleasure. What a fun show. Unai Emery revolution, Richard Scudamore's retirement, and what happened to the 5 test match series. So what an awesome show. Cannot wait for tomorrow. Plenty of cool subjects. Look out for that. Subscribe below and share the podcast. Cannot wait to be with you tomorrow.